know, every month that we have students from each of the schools that we celebrate as Students of the Month. And the first one we're going to do is South Putnam Central Elementary, Hadley Roderick. Hadley, are you here? Yeah. Come on up here. Let's get her up here in a minute, okay? Hadley, you are what grade?
I'm in grade 2.
You're in grade 2. Okay. This says, and she wrote a little article about you, okay? And I'm going to read it to everybody. It says, from Mrs. Fry, Hadley is a second grader at Central Elementary. She is a great leader in the classroom as well as in the hallways. Hadley consistently shows improvement and willingness to work hand in her academics so she can achieve her goals. She is a great role model for her peers as well as those outside the classroom. Her ability to talk through situations and come to a conclusion during disagreement is very beneficial to both herself and her classmates. Hadley has a very bright future ahead of her and is a great representative of our school's beliefs and values. So we want to congratulate Hadley Roderick as South Putnam Central Elementary's Student of the Month. Congratulations. And the Student of the Month from Fillmore Elementary is Graham Clark. Are you here? Come on up. What grade are you, Graham?
5th.
You're in 5th grade. And Mrs. McCamick wrote an article here about you. Mr. Bernhardt and members of South Putnam School Board, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Graham Clark, a 5th grader at Fillmore Elementary. He is a 5th grade April Student of the Month. Graham is the son of Ryan and Angie Clark, and he has a sister, Kennedy, that attends the high school. Graham demonstrates our school's values of being engaged, respectful, and sincere in his attitude towards his learning, school responsibilities, and relationships with peers and teachers. Graham enjoys learning new things. He tries hard to apply what he already knows to new ideas. He takes time to really think about what he is learning and asks questions when he needs help. Graham sticks with the work until he is satisfied. He has varied interests outside the school. He loves farming and raising pigs and cattle. He loves playing around with his dog. He can often be found in the fields driving farm equipment during planting and harvesting season. Graham plays numerous sports, football, basketball, and baseball. I believe his heart is really into baseball. Being an avid learner, he often shares about what he enjoys with classmates and me. Since he is organized and careful about his work, Graham produces detailed, complete assignments. Graham's personality adds brightness to our school day. He has a good sense of humor and playfulness that are fun to see. He is a loyal friend and treats his peers and teachers with respect and kindness. He is a trustworthy and sincere individual who is well liked by all. For these reasons, I believe Graham deserves this honor for his actions, attitude, and accomplishments. Graham is a great person, a fantastic student, and a strong role model for all of us at Fillmore Elementary School. Joe McCamick, 5th grade teacher. So we want to congratulate Graham for being the Fillmore Elementary Student of the Month. Congratulations. Is Johnny Mitchell from South Putnam Middle School here? Okay, well, Johnny is, what grade is he? Does anybody know? 8th grade, okay. And Mrs. Heat recommended him. And it says, the student I would like to recommend is Johnny Mitchell. Johnny is highly motivated and self-disciplined student. He shows initiative in class and has a strong interest in science. He is very responsible for completing and turning his assignments in on time with a strong work ethic and attention to detail. I love having Johnny in class. Mrs. Heath. So we want to congratulate Johnny Mitchell for the South Putnam Middle School student. South Putnam High School student is Jordan Trapman. Jordan here? Come on up. Jordan, Mrs. Cassida recommended you, and it says here, I would like to nominate Jordan Troutman for Student of the Month. I am in the unique position of having had Jordan in class for 6th grade math, 8th grade intro to computer science, and now again in computer science 1. Jordan has matured tremendously and has become a great leader in the classroom. He thinks deeply, asks great questions, and never hesitates to try hard things. He has even completed all homework learning assignments, even while he is quarantined. My favorite thing about Jordan, though, is that he greets me every day and seems to genuinely care about how I am doing. Mrs. Cassidy. So we want to congratulate Jordan for being the South Putnam High School Student of the Month. Congratulations. Parents, we appreciate all of the hard work that you do and all the efforts that you give, because we know without you, these students wouldn't achieve the things that they do. So thank you very much. And I know it's a school night, and they've got school tomorrow. So we'd love for you to stay and listen to the meeting tonight, but we also know many of you want to get your kids home. So if you want to do that, please feel free to go ahead and do that now. And if not, welcome and stay for the rest of the meeting.
Brian, you gotta stay to the end.
Other interests.
Let's see. Mrs. Boyce, Lori, you here? Where's she at? Oh, come on up, Lori.
Okay, so next up, we're gonna have a presentation with Mrs. Boyce, the cafeteria. Also, we have some FFA members here. Looks like we have an ag teacher here, so talk about, come on up, talk about the proposed project.
Lori, you want to introduce everybody, or well, or somebody can?
Flanders. Okay, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. Hi, everybody, to the board and to those in attendance. I am Mrs. Lauren Flanders, and I'm the proud South Putnam FFA advisor, along with Miss Amanda King. She would be here as well, but she is currently an hour away at Sullivan, where some of our members are also applying for district office for FFA. So we're kind of splitting our time here. But with me today, I have Mr. Austin Branham. I have
Scoot in a little bit, guys, so we can get you on camera, okay?
Get you on camera. We want your pretty face. Oh, yes, we want your pretty faces. So I have Mr. Austin Branham here, right here in the middle. Over on the side here, I have Mr. Keaton Chu, and then with me also I have Miss Lori Boyce, who has been a tremendous help in what we are excited to present to you today. So if you have any questions, we'll gladly take those at the end after these guys take it away.
Okay, so good evening, school board. We are from the South Putnam FFA, as you could have guessed. Tonight we're going to be presenting the Eagles Vegetation Station. This was an idea we've had for a while, coming through the year late 2020 into 2021. Miss Boyce has been a tremendous help with us for fundraising and overall support.
What we are doing, South Putnam FFA students are creating a raised bed garden with fresh produce for the cafeteria to use and to donate to local Putnam County shelters and pantries. The garden would provide South Putnam classrooms the opportunity for hands-on learning experiences throughout the growing season and for other farming.
The garden location and size. If you guys have been over by the pool, it is a little indent between the gym and the pool. We're going to put, in that grass space right there, we're going to put the pool. We would hope to have 8 raised garden beds, and for further reference, here's a picture of that grass area we would be putting in.
Something to note is that these garden beds would be far enough spaced out so that the typical mowing crew that comes through those deck beds would still be able to fit through with no issue.
Here's some of the list of them, some of the things we'll grow. Tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, and zucchini are some of the top ones we're thinking about. Some of these onions, eggplants, okra, and other things like that.
What will we do with the produce? Produce will be utilized by the South Putnam cafeteria to be used in the lunches. Additional produce will be donated to local shelters, food pantries in Putnam County and families in need in the SPCSC district.
And we also hope to potentially use some of this produce as well in some of the summer meals that we might be sending out as well, if we can get these gardens growing and off the ground quite literally before summer begins.
Some of our student involvement opportunities. We have the elementary runs a bee club where they pick up different pollutants in our natural environment, and they would learn more about gardening as a whole. We have any elementary classroom education. They can do possible small mini field trips out to there. We have a big one for us as an FFA chapter would be part of our SAE curriculum. This is kind of an extra class or project we can take to compete and further our knowledge in agriculture, and these raised garden beds would be a great way to do that for us. Food science, those kind of classes, we could show students how to do properly use garden beds, especially. Furthering our aquaponics lab, we have currently a very successful aquaponics lab indoors, and taking that one step farther outside would be the way to go. And then special life skills classes, this would be a great way to teach them.
Future growth and potential. We plan to expand our garden from 8 raised beds to include more raised beds, covered beds for all season growing, and eventually to get in-ground beds and outreach to elementary schools to do hands-on learning experiences and other things after COVID and
donations and additional materials. This is kind of a list of things we would be looking for to put these raised garden beds and any equipment we would need. Things like that. We have seeds and plants provided by County Acres and DePaul University, as well as Miss Lori Boyce and the Pat Burdine and family. So yeah.
We have filled out 2 grants, one from the Whole Kids Foundation and also the Greencastle Philanthropy Grant. We will hear back on that one probably the 1st of May. The Whole Kids Foundation will not be returning any information until August, the first week in August. Everyone that I've contacted for donations, I've been turned down by no one. We are still in need of soil, so I'm hoping to reach out to some farmers around our area. The athletic department has donated the soil that they have back there. We're having a building day this Sunday at 10 a.m. So if anyone has any suggestions or would like to lend a helping hand, we'll be out in the area at 10 a.m. on Sunday, ready to grow and keep growing.
Are there any questions that you have for myself, Ms. Boyce, or my FFA members here?
So what are you currently in need of to get this rolling by, you're so start building Sunday? What are you needing right now?
Liner for the inside of the bed to keep the moisture away from the wood. We were donated the wood by Chandler's. It's about 40 years old. It was in the Tyson barn just down the road. We have a sander. We will be sanding the boards down. We got paint donated from Ace Hardware in Crawfordsville. Home Depot donated $100 worth of painting supplies. I just went there. Oh, plywood, because we have a 2x4 piece of plywood, and our logo will be etched into that wood and will be set out front to show the garden. Miss Holly Sims, her and her class will be painting the beds, doing murals like vegetables, flowers, just making it more pleasant to the eye. We need soil. We are getting fertilizer from Co-Alliance and I think a possible donation, but we do need the soil, liner, and some hand tools like trowels and rakes.
But for all the other materials that we've listed or talked about, those have been donated or previously already arranged. So it's right around those three things, so very few.
You will take cash donations at this point?
Oh, absolutely.
Who do they need to contact or get a hold of?
Me. I'm basically the contact trying to get, everything going and then to do the manual labor.
What's your phone number?
765-653-3148 and then extension 215.
When you said that you reached out for grants and at Putnam County, is it the Youth Foundation that you reached out to?
Yes.
Okay, so you have reached out and done that, okay, because I'm going to tell you that is a perfect source for anyone who is looking for projects dealing with the youth to do things. You need to contact them, and it's a very easy form to fill out. It's a great group that wants to do lots, and this would be exactly what they're looking for. So that's just personal from being on the committee. So
It's Dean who we contacted, correct?
Dean Gamble, yes. And then, yeah, you turn in the application there, and then that kind of stuff, and present it, so yeah.
When do you think you're gonna actually put some seeds in the ground and start growing?
The students are supposed to be germinating the seeds this week.
So that hopefully by the time we are fully built, because we don't want to be too overexcited and say we'll build everything in one day, but hopefully after the build we should have plants ready to go in.
And DePaul has already seeds that are germinated. DePaul's willing to donate plants to us. There's Country Acres Greenhouse in Cloverdale, and she said she would donate plants as well.
Yes, of course.
As far as the summertime goes, do you have a schedule for leaders?
Yes, absolutely. So this garden tailors in very well to our SAE program with FFA, so that is our supervised agriculture experience. So for example, Mr. Branham here, this is his SAE project, along with it is actually tailoring into 2 or 3 other students. So they already need the hours to sign off for those SAE projects. So it's on these 3 kids to kind of work out the schedule and know who's going to cover what days.
Do you plan on some kind of avenue to keep people updated as the weeks or months go by?
Updated as in produce?
Facebook, whatever to keep, how things are going?
Absolutely. So we'll probably seek an avenue on South Putnam FFA's Facebook page, but we might also look into the avenue of a personal social media page for this.
Okay. Does it have to be a nonprofit project?
Right now we are only looking at donations just to the staff and then to other areas in the county.
No, I mean like if the students would eventually, once you get it going and you have produce, and it seems to be a very viable type thing, is there a way that, could it be that the children, the kids, I should say children, I'm sorry, the young people, I have children in 5th grade, could do like farmer's market and then do that, and then all the funds then would come back to fund other projects for the students?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. That would almost be even better for some of our SAE kids for their hours to show that they're making money. But yes.
I just didn't know if it had to stay like nonprofit.
It does not. But that's hopefully where we would like to grow to.
Okay. Great.
Possibly see a greenhouse coming down the road, maybe?
Love to see a greenhouse come down. I like the way we're talking.
Guys.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
Do they get the same courtesy of being able to leave if they would like to, Mr. Bernhard, or
I'm sorry?
are they able to leave if they would like to as well?
Sure, yeah, if you want to. It's school night, I know.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your evening.
Okay, next up, the consideration of the approval of minutes of the regular meeting of March the 10th, and executive sessions of March 10th, March 11th, March 18th, March 29th, March 31st, and April 1st.
I move that we approve with the following change being made on the minutes under paragraph under all also present where it says the meeting was called to order by President Holly Hutchison. That needs to be changed to Craig Newby, but otherwise.
Okay. And who made the motion? Les seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Passes. Consideration of the approval of claims.
Okay, in your package you have tonight, claims 29,847 through 29,995 and the March payroll for your approval.
No one has any questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
Wes made the motion, Holly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, Paul Wetler from the Administrative Assistant is here to talk to us about the financial snapshots that he put together for us.
Good evening to everybody. I laid these in front of you primarily tonight just to introduce you to this a little bit, and then I'll return next month and so on until we get a chance to work with your new superintendent. And I have been working with Hillary now for a couple months trying to get information. I brought some of that tonight, but it is really necessary to look at it. The two funds I'm looking at.
If you would, just a minute, do you want to preference why we did that?
Sure. Yeah, we brought Paul in basically with the transition from retiring superintendent to a new superintendent. We really felt it was important that we had a person from the outside look at our financials and make sure that we're fully aware of everything. The new superintendent's fully aware of our status and to really make the transition also for Hillary a good transition from one superintendent to another. So yeah, Paul will be working with us over a period of time to make sure that the financials is pretty important when it comes to running a school corporation. So to make sure that transition is as seamless as possible.
Sorry about that, Paul.
That's fine. That's good comment. What these are cash flows, and if you're really going to stay on top of the future, you want cash flows. You can stay on top of the present with your fund report that you see every month. Gives you a cash balance snapshot at that time, but you can get a fund report in April and not have a clue where you're headed in December of that year. And what this does is look out the whole calendar year, gives you a snapshot then of what the cash balance in December 31st might look like. And so like I said, I've been spending a lot of time with Hillary going over things, drawing things from your software, which you use CompControl, as many school systems do. So we looked closely at CompControl and the forms that I needed out of that. We go to the DOE and we pull information from the DOE. We pull information from the DLGF, and those three things are very critical to make this all work. So if you look at the very first one, I typically don't go back as far as I did here, and not that you had problems that I'm looking at necessarily, but usually I'd go in and show the people a snapshot of 2021, the year we're in. We do calendar year because your budget's calendar. So we look at the calendar year. And then I would go back and build 2020, which with actual figures from those three sources and build that so I have something to look at from the previous year. I can't go in and build this year and not have some history of your school corporation. That's terribly important for me to see history. I went back to 2019 though, and you'll see that top one is 21, the second one's 20, and the third one is 2019. And I did that simply because of COVID-19. 2020 is a very unique year. Okay? And we're still in it a little bit with 2021. But certainly 2020, COVID had an effect on some revenues. It had an effect on some expenditures. So that's why I went back. It took a little more time to look at 2019 also. So when I look at the education fund, let's look at it first. The education fund, the very first sheet is 2021. Out at the right-hand side of that, I listed some numbers under 2020 and 2019. So as I'm looking at 21, I can take a glance at 20 and 19 also. So if I'm looking at as an example, the basic grant going across, you'll see 3 months, first 3 months are in blue. Those are firm numbers. If you look at March, basic grant, you received $610,605. That's the basic grant that came in March. And you can look at the other 2 months and you start to see the pattern. Now, if you look at out at the end of the year and you look at totals, if you were to run that 610,000 out and you got that every month, that's pretty easy to predict what you're going to get. Now, that's going to change a little bit. If I remember right from what you told me, your February count didn't change much this year. That's good because most February counts go down. It's just natural. You have mid-year graduations, you just lose some kids. Your February count goes down. Usually your September count comes back up a little bit. But in your case, it stayed about the same. So you can ride that 610,000 out now until the legislature's done and they decide what they're going to do with tuition support. And then if that goes up, and they're talking, what, 1.5% or something like that right now, if that goes up, then this 610,000 will increase a little bit later on. It won't do it right away, but you get into June and you're going to see that increase. Then the next thing you wait for in that grant is the big count in September 15th count. That's terribly critical now because money follows kids. So if your enrollment stays the same, you're going to see that 600 and some thousand carry right out to the end of December. If your enrollment goes up, and it could go up significantly, you're going to see an increase in revenue. If you lose kids, you're going to see that November check drop. They're going to take the money back in November and December. Now, as we go along and you become more familiar with this, you're going to start to see that, especially after doing this a whole year with your new superintendent and Hillary. You're going to start to play this game yourself, and you're going to start to see how this really works. So all this at the top, 2021, all this at the top is revenue. I don't have everything in there. I don't want to overstate revenue. Whenever you do this, if you think you're going to get $7 million, you don't project $7 million. You might project 6.8 or 6.9. You don't want to get out there and all of a sudden you didn't get that and the numbers start to drop at the end of the year. So you're going to lowball the revenue a little bit. Then at the bottom of this are your expenses. And if you look at, there are 3 areas that I look at immediately, and that's what I did here. You look at payroll, you look at benefits, and you look at everything else. And this again is just the education fund. So we know what the payroll was in January, February, and March to the dollar. We know what the benefits were. We're pulling that information out of your software. Hillary sends that to me, and we do our thing. And then we start to project what that's going to be the rest of the year. But you can also look at 2020, that I put that number in there for payroll, and if you go clear out to the end of the column, it says $4,431,000. If my number in 2021 said 4,000,009, I'd know there's a problem. I've already got a problem. If I don't have that 2020 number, I don't know that. So that's kind of a projecting to look at the previous year and even in 2019 to get some sense of where I am with payroll. Same thing with benefits. What changes benefits? Health insurance. and how much you're paying towards health insurance, and that can be a big deal. Then everything else is in claims, and then there's a transfer, and that transfer is relatively new to schools. The legislature has allowed you to transfer money from this fund to the operations fund. And you have to set that number every year. You pass a resolution, probably your resolution says something like, we may transfer up to $1 million or up to 800,000. I have put 800,000 in here. I think your actual resolution may say $1 million, but you don't have to. If you say up to, you could stop it at 900,000, wherever you feel comfortable with that number. And so that's in there as an expense because that money's going to the operations. And you can see that when we get to the operations. So when we do this, two most important numbers on here are January beginning balance in the upper left-hand corner and the ending December 31st balance clear at the bottom right-hand corner. If those two numbers are pretty close, then that's where you want to be. Don't expect that number to grow that much, but you don't want it. What you're really watching is you don't want it to die and not know it's coming. And that's what this will do for you. It'll give you good sense, especially by the time you get through April and May, as to where you're going in 2021. We get to November of 2021, we'll project 2022 ahead of time. We'll have a lot of stuff to do that. But this is the first time out of the hat here. So it will change a little bit. You know, it's going to. None of this is exact, but by the time you've done this for a year, year and a half, you will get very good at it. And your superintendent will too, and Hillary's already figured out what I'm doing here. That's a good thing. Now, get a question.
Yeah, just real quick, since we're on the education fund, under the payroll, under expenses, July, is there a reason why we're projecting a significant increase in payroll and
I assume there was 3 paydays that month.
Probably.
Do you, now I might not have the right month.
Sure.
But I know there's 2 times a year you have 3 payrolls, and I think one of them was January because it was 482,000.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, for example, there's 3 in April.
So we're going to take a look. That's a question that popped up when her and I were talking about that 27th pay issue. That's something we got to look at. You don't want to get caught making 27 pays, and that can be a problem, especially in cash flow. So anyway, right now that looks pretty good, but we will keep fine tuning this as we go along. But I can say that you're not going to see a significant change here, but we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll report this to you every month, and you'll see the next month added to it as we go along. In the operations fund, it's the same format, except that operations is tax funded. It's not anything to do with the state much, except that the state allows you to raise that tax levy every year, a certain percentage. So you're going to see some income increase every year here. It'll vary anywhere probably from 2 to 4%. But as you look at your beginning cash balance of 713,000, projected right now to be 747,000 at the end of the year, that's good. That's a good place to be. That's what you really want with this. You want to end up, at some point, you can't raise millions of dollars. You're just not going to do it. It's not there. But you do want to get to a point where you've got a good cash balance, which might be in the neighborhood of 20% of your budget. You want to maintain that. You want to get it started the year, and that's where you want to end up. Same way with operations. Now, and what can affect operations a little bit? Well, something goes kapooey, big compressor or something like that you have to spend maybe $100,000, $150,000 you didn't expect. That's where it's nice to have a rainy day fund. I didn't do anything with the rainy day fund, but you've got one, and you want to make sure that you keep some money there. But this also leads me to think that you're in a good place here. Like I said, first time, so it's going to move a little bit on us until I become more familiar with your habits and that kind of stuff. And Hillary is already keying into, well, we do this, we do that. One of the things that you do, which some school corporations do, but most of them don't. One of the things you do, and this is not wrong, this is just the way you do it. You transfer money whenever you need from the education fund to the operations fund. Many of the school corporations I've seen set a number every month, and that's what they transfer. And they do that because they like this. They don't care for that. Like I said, it's not wrong to do it the way you do it, but it does do this a little bit when you do that. So you got to be aware of that. You might get hit one month and you're lower the next. That kind of thing. So, I don't want to take up any more of your time tonight with this. I want you to really spend some time now before the next board meeting to kind of take a look at it. And when I come back, then there'll be another month added, and we'll see how that adjusted the numbers. I did want you to see 2019 and 20 and where I was coming from with the numbers as I perceive them as we go forward. But right now, in my first time into this, I'm in pretty good shape. Okay. Any questions, any comments?
Thank you. Okay, next up, consideration of personnel report.
Okay, on our personnel report, classified resignations, Robin White, middle high school custodian, maternity leave, certified Josie Hacker, Central, August 10 through October 15. New hires, classified Carol Harlan, middle high school custodian, David Husk, bus driver, summer workers, Jerry Canfield and Angela Garl, and David Husk mowing, and Husk is mowing as needed only. And Nancy Knapp and Casey Rossick, bus cleaning during the winter or during the summer. And ECA is David Wood, middle high school JV baseball.
So moved.
Les made a motion, Nathan seconded, all in favor? Opposed? So, okay. Motion passes 5-0. Okay. Next up, the consideration of findings of fact, conclusions of law, and order causing the cancellation of the contract.
Okay, in your packet you have findings of fact, conclusions of law, and order concerning the cancellation of Tom Starnes' contract, and this requires a motion on the part of the board.
Okay, need a motion.
I move that the Board of School Trustees adopt the findings of fact, conclusion of law, and order that cancel the teaching contract to Tom Starnes effective at the end of the school year.
Need a second? We have a second? Without a second, the motion dies. Next up, the consideration of the 2022 budget calendar.
In your packet, you have the review and adoption schedule for the 22 budget, and as you see on here, It starts with Wednesday, August 11, which is regular school board meeting, and that's the purpose of review and approval for publications. Friday, August 13th, the administration submits the proposed budget. Friday, August 20, we post the notice to taxpayers of the proposed budgets. Wednesday, September 8, a regular school board meeting at 7 p.m. The purpose is for the public hearing for the proposed 2022 budget, which is at least 10 days before the adoption by 10/22. Wednesday, September 29 is a special school board meeting at 5:30, and that is for the adoption of the proposed 22 budgets. And on October 1, is the date that we will submit the 22 budgets, rates, and levies to the DLGF through Gateway. So that's the process that you'll follow between August 11 and October 1 in the adoption of the 2022 budget.
So moved.
One second.
Wes made the motion, Holly seconded, in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Next up, Tammy Super is here for the technology presentation.
Yeah, so we began about, 3 years ago, guys, replacing these boards. I wanted to give you a quick update because I haven't been able to get in front of you and give an update lately. In the last 3 years, we've replaced 43 boards. We still need 31 boards to finish the corporation. Each semester, the tech department goes around and rates each board. 5 being that it's fully visible. 1 is barely visible with the lights off. Currently, we have 16 in the corporation that have a rating of 0 or 2. So we have 16 that needs immediate attention. The rest of them are teetering at a 2-3. I try to keep the bulbs on in stock. Sometimes you change the bulb and just the whole projector goes out. To be honest, these Promethean boards went out of warranty in 2015.
So what's it gonna cost to replace the 16 that we need?
Yeah, so I thought I had the number. For the 16, so each board is about $2,500. I don't have the number in front of me, I apologize. And that would take care of everybody that has a rating of 1 to 2. With that list, that is so Central Elementary needs 10 to get them past that 1 to 2 mark. Middle school needs 1, and the high school would need 5.
Do they get any cheaper with the bulk order versus just 16?
I'm contacting several vendors just to make sure that we're getting competitive prices. So I am asking those questions. And I will tell you, with all technology, the boards are, if you want them, you better get mine. They are about 60 days shipment time. So,
perfect world, everybody has an inventory. What is your schedule? You wanting them before the first of the year?
Summer is a great window time to do it, because we're going to be in the classrooms anyway. And so it would be a great time we'll have maintenance because they help mount them for us, and I'll have some extra hands on site to get them up and running and have them by August.
Have you submitted a proposal to Bruce, where you've got the money on hand, or?
Yeah.
Various functions, whether it's through bonds or even COVID money. There's
One
2
way
or
or
3
the other,
options.
they'll be covered.
One way or the other.
So
we'll
she
have to
probably
cover.
needs to place the order now if she's gonna get it.
So, could we do all 31? I know that's not ideal for us, but if we get a discount for that many, I mean, I would think
Yeah,
we
Looks
could.
like that remaining balance is on the border.
And we have the availability to include that through the bond issue that we're looking at.
I would price all 30.
Okay. For sure. Yeah. And I am utilizing West Central,
Purchasing.
yes. So they're going out and getting the competitive bids for me. I'm reaching out to the vendors that I know that I work with, but I'm using their services because they already have the vendors from the state list.
And so maybe sooner than later, we need to do this with, I know, on our end, parts.
Well, you
They're
could,
getting harder to come by,
Yes.
and the longer we wait, they may not be available.
Exactly.
So we need to make a motion
you could make a motion tonight for her to proceed in ordering those, and then, before they come in, we will have determined which avenue we're gonna pay for them with. But we've got a couple avenues that we can pay them for.
And
so.
probably not to exceed 2,500 a unit, so we've got some
Yeah.
ceiling.
I'll make a motion that you go ahead and
Won't be that much anyway.
It won't. No, that was a high. That's about where we started. They
Right. Yeah, you're right.
predicted to go down, but I wanted to
Yeah.
surprise you.
Did you make a
No,
motion?
I did, to not, to look into replacing all 31, not to exceed $2,500 a piece.
Polly made the motion, Lisa seconded, all in favor?
No. I also wanted to give a quick update. The middle school Chromebooks that you approved a couple months ago, they've been purchased. And so Dell's turnaround times have been very favorable now. So I feel good about having those ready for those middle schoolers in August. We again went through West Central Educational for that RFP. And then the last thing I wanted to just discuss tonight, since we have added 500 devices in the environment and other technology equipment, I may be wanting to talk later about maybe some additional resources. This is just a conversation at this point, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that when we signed the 3/5, that was a few years ago, we added 500 Chromebooks last year and some other devices. So informational tonight, I haven't dug too far in it, I just wanted to bring it.
We're getting some expenses together, the 2, 3, 5-year projection. Can you come back to us with a 2, 3, 4, 5-year projection on replacements of certain equipment? Because I know, we've done some of the routers and some of the, if you could, that way we could work that into our budget looking down the road. I know some of that stuff's gonna have to be replaced again.
Right, absolutely. Mr. Bernhardt and I are actually working on a 5-year budget, considering the replacements of the Chromebooks, keeping those in the cycle, considering any servers that's still on premise. We went cloud with some. E-rate comes into play there, so we're working on a 5-year budget, and I can have that.
Yeah, besides the laptops, we've infrastructure, because we
Right.
replaced some of that once already, and
Yeah.
I'm sure in the next 2 to 3 years, it's gonna be ready again.
Yeah, and a lot of that we plan ahead. Your engineers plan ahead because they're E-rateable, so we want to take advantage of that.
Look
But
at
yeah,
the crystal ball and see where technology is going.
can you let me know where that crystal ball is? 'Cause all right.
Thank you.
Any questions for technology? Thanks, guys.
Superintendent's report.
Okay, one thing that I want to mention to you, and I'm sure you're already aware of this, but at one point, we were pretty high with the number of students, teachers, staff members, most of it due to contact tracing, that were out of school for any number of days, from a week to a couple weeks to 15 days. And as of 2 or 3 days ago, when I last looked at this, we had like 6 or 7 students that were out with no teachers and no staff members. And so, and it's been varying, and that will vary from day to day. When you may have 6 or 7 out today, well, because of contact tracing, you could have 25 out tomorrow. But just a couple days ago when I looked at that, just a very small handful of students, and no staff or teachers out due to any kind of COVID issues, which means either contact traced or they've had COVID. So we've had, people and adults and students out for other reasons, obviously, but I've just been tracking strictly the COVID reasons, and right now we're doing very well. Tomorrow could be different, but we're doing very well and have been doing very well for quite a few days now. And I'm just very pleased with the efforts that all of our teachers and staff are doing with students and results. Numbers they're hard numbers, and it shows that today we're doing very well, and I'm really pleased with that. We'll continue to be vigilant, as many of you know, and we sent some notices out to parents. The governor made mask wearing a recommendation instead of a mandatory situation, and said local people could make their own decisions, businesses could make their own decisions, but the one caveat to that was that education was exempted from that. And so it is still mandatory for students to come to school and wear a mask while they're at school. Unfortunately, that's irregardless of what their parents tell them they can do, because that's the governor's edict, that he showed leniency for local decisions to be made, but exempted education. And so we're still mandated to wear masks until such time that's changed by the governor. So that everybody understands that. It's not because South Putnam, for some reason, is making kids do something that no one else is. Just so that everyone understands that, if that comes up in the future, well, the governor said we don't have to do that anymore. Well, no, education was exempted from that edict, and education, it still is mandated for us through the end of the school year, was the way that he had stated it when he put in that stipulation. So through the rest of our academic year, and then we'll see where the governor stands on it from there. But through the rest of our academic year, all of the students are exempted from the, well, it's your decision what you want to do, while it's different out in public. So just that's really important for everybody to understand that schools are different. We didn't get the exception. So those are the things I want to talk about. And like I say, with the masks that we've been wearing and so forth, numbers don't lie. We've been doing a good job. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of factors, as you know, the rate of people that are getting shots and becoming immune and things like that and so forth. So it's not just this. I understand that, of course. But due to all of these reasons, our numbers are very low right now. And the good thing is that means students are in school every day, and they're in front of a teacher, and they're learning. And that's the best place that students can be, in front of that teacher, learning face to face. I wholeheartedly believe that, and I'm sure most people will agree with that. So we're thrilled that that's happening right now. And that's all that I have.
It's not not necessarily about that. Is it okay if I take this off and talk? Is that fine? Okay. I guess I would just like to take a second to, and you know me, I'm going to put my 2 cents in, so you can at least know what I have to say.
You.
Oh, okay. So I guess what I'm here to address is that all the schools in India and all the schools, the government has issued the American Rescue money. And the first round that we got, you guys were awesome at getting like the PPEs and all the cleaners and everything that we needed to be able to hopefully stay in as long as we have to be that in person and stuff. And I think myself, I mean, as a teacher, I appreciate you doing all that kind of stuff. And then I know that another round has come out, and the state has put out that South has gotten a chunk of it, about 502,000. And I know that it still has to go for some things to make sure that the air quality and all that kind of stuff is okay, because that's that's what keeps us in school. And I know that you may not, because you're transitioning, and I'm not quite sure, you know, if you've made decisions about what to do with some of that money, and I get that, because I know it's kind of a difficult time. But I'm gonna put 2 cents in to hopefully have you maybe think about, and you may already have, but I wouldn't be doing my due diligence, I don't think, is to possibly think of maybe, and other corporations have done it, like some sort of stipend for the teachers. I don't know how you want to come about that or what you want to think about, but I know that, and I know that you guys appreciate us and you've done tons of stuff, and I'm not acting like you haven't, but just to think about the fact that a lot of us had to learn everything like on the run, like all of the stuff with the Google Classroom, and there's been lots of training, but like on a dime, we had to make sure that we had a classroom and we had all this stuff going, and we could use Cami, which has been provided for us through the corporation, and reach to our kids. And I think our administration, I know ours did a really good job of saying, hey, way back a couple years ago, you need to be prepared just in case, not necessarily they didn't know about, oh gosh, if they knew about COVID, they'd have made $1 million, but just to be prepared for when we go online. You need to kind of be thinking about stuff. So we sort of delved a little bit, but to be like thrown in that way for all levels, I know that it was difficult, and that you still have teachers that we did virtual at some point in time. Some schools were out a week or two or however, and they did an awesome job of doing that. And then there are still some of us who do the hybrid where we're trying to teach the kids in our classroom, but we've got 4 or 5 kids who are out because of contact tracing or COVID, who are also on the computer over there, and we're doing this with that and doing that with them. And that's very difficult. I mean, because you got to keep the attention of one and then make sure the others have it. And I know that some of you, like you know that because you have kids coming home saying stuff, or wives or husbands or, you know, whatever else, know that. And then just all the extra duties that we have picked up so that we could do it, like, you know, all the using the equipment that you gave us to clean all the desks in between when classes are kind of coming in and out, and just making sure that the restrooms are sprayed down, and just various things. So I guess I would like to put in your guys' ear to maybe think about that in some way. Something, whatever you could do would be greatly appreciated. And I know, and like I said, none of my teachers who are in the association or anybody else, no one is saying that we haven't felt appreciated from you guys, because we really have. But I think that, you know, whatever you could do would be nice. And I do think maybe there's a 3rd round too, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know, obviously, like, what you have, like, to do, like, if you have to put in air, HVACs or whatever, but keep us in mind.
I'm not gonna say it's off the table, because
Okay. Oh, I know that.
we are very early in the process of determining what actually is COVID related, we need to absolutely spend the money on,
right,
and then what we can do after that.
And I appreciate that, but it's
It
just
has not been dismissed,
bring it in forward.
but it has been discussed.
Yeah. But thank you, and we do appreciate it, we really do. But like I said, I wouldn't be doing myself a service. Thanks for listening.
Just got one thing to say. You know, I believe as a school board, it's our job to set policy, manage the budget, hire superintendents and principals, and allow them to manage their personnel and their staff. I have no intention of managing personnel. So this is said with no emotion and hard feelings, but there is a wide gap of philosophy from myself and the rest of this board. So at the conclusion of this meeting, I'm going to resign from the South Putnam School Board. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Move to adjourn. Seconded. All in favor?